How do movie characters get inside you so deeply that you really, really come to care about them? Let's take a look as we dive into the best movie characters of all time.
What can I say?
The majority of characters are pretty much complete by the end of the writing stage. The screenwriter and the director have in their imaginations a great idea for the character. They know how they want the character to be, and they're just looking for an actor to fill in the gap. A masterful actor, however, will do a lot more than just fill in a gap. I was personally made aware of that when I was touring England with some brilliant actors who took their plays and completely ran with it and burned the house down, not literally, obviously, and really made their characters magnificent. Johnny Depp is one of the best character actors of all time. I mean, his work in Edward Scissorhands, just for example, is absolutely sublime. Give Johnny Depp a role, and he won't just do it as it's written. He will imbue it with his own personality, with his own creativity. He'll take a character and he'll make a lot more of them. He'll make them a lot more magical than they were when written. That's precisely what happened when he played Captain Jack Sparrow. Johnny Depp jumped on the opportunity to play a character that he could do like Keith Richards. His enthusiasm for that role shows on the screen. He makes every movement, every gesture really mean something. He makes the character scream with personality. So because of Johnny Depp's performance, Captain Jack Sparrow is one of the best movie characters of all time.
What can I say?
Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. What an actor does for a character in front of the camera, an artist can do on a sketchpad or on a computer. Taking the writer's words and turning them into beautiful characters that seem to come to life on the page and on the screen. Tigger is one example of that. Now you're probably wondering, Paul, what's so wonderful about Tigger? You're probably thinking, Paul, what is the wonderful thing about Tigger? Thank you for asking. The wonderful thing about Tigger is Tigger's a wonderful thing. The tops are made out of rubber, the bottoms are made out of spring. They're flouncy, trouncy, bouncy, bouncy, fun. Oh, but the most wonderful thing about Tigger is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. But what makes Tigger the only one? It's got everything to do with his visual character design. Now, for starters, he's made of all round corners. Now, that might seem like a silly point. Okay, he's round. What's that got to do with anything? But psychologically, round corners on characters, on pictures, on logos, they make people feel happy and joyous. That's why, if you look at any logo for a brand, which is a happy, positive brand, it's going to be covered in curves. McDonald's, for instance, it's just an M because of the two curves. So that's one reason. Another reason is the body language of Tigger. He's constantly bouncing all over the place. Now, in non-verbal communication and body language, that sort of bounce in your step shows that you're having fun and that you're happy. Finally, Tigger is almost entirely orange, and psychologically speaking, orange is the color of joy. So you put those three things together, and you have one of the most joyous movie characters of all time.
What can I say?
Previously, I was chatting about how secondary characters should always bring something extra out in the main character. That's precisely what Hannibal Lecter does for Clarice Starling. Every time Clarice Starling meets Hannibal Lecter, he attacks her psychologically, he makes her question herself. And of course, the best example of that is the scene where he's talking about the lamb. What happened to your lamb, Clarice? They were killing the spring lambs, weren't they, Clarice? He really gets into her mind, makes her question herself, and in doing that, allows the director to reveal different aspects of Clarice Starling's character. So, because he is so instrumental in revealing aspects of the protagonist's character, Hannibal Lecter becomes one of the best secondary characters in the history of the movies.
Stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop. What can I say? Dip, stop, dip, stop.
Maggie Fitzgerald. Now, again, if you've ever been in a conversation with a screenwriter, with a director, with an author, with anybody like that, anybody involved with bringing characters to life or with conceptualizing characters, one thing that they're going to say to you is that a character must go through hell. If a character succeeds, they must have gone through the worst things imaginable in order to get to that point. Now, why is that? Is it just because humanity is ultimately a bunch of sadists? Possibly. The truth is, we don't like seeing people getting anything for free. We like to see people struggle for their successes. That's just the way that people are, psychologically. That's also why every celebrity who knows how to market themselves will repeatedly tell you how difficult it was getting to the top. Think about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, okay? Obviously a very talented guy. Not necessarily the best actor, but wonderfully charismatic. And in the WWE, he was an absolute genius who is possibly the best person on the mic and the best person at cutting a promo that ever was in the WWE. But if you look at The Rock's interviews, he will constantly tell you about the one time when he was struggling, when he didn't have any money, which is probably not what you and I mean by any money, right? The Rock is a third-generation superstar. He was born to do it. He was groomed to do it. He became WWE champion partly because he is incredibly talented, but also because of familial ties. Here's a guy that was born lucky, okay? But he will constantly tell you that he struggled so hard to get where he is. Now, fair enough, but why would he do that? Why would he make so much about his struggles? Because people love characters who struggle for their success. They love to see people being put through hell to make it to heaven. One brilliant example of precisely that is Maggie Fitzgerald in $1 Million Baby. Now, Maggie Fitzgerald has a hell of a life. Her family are emotionally abusive to her. She wants to become a boxer, and she has to put up with the sexism of the men who don't want her to make it because they're afraid that a woman will be better than they are. She even has to put up with the sexism of her own coach, Clint Eastwood. She goes through hell, and then she ends up in hospital. She goes through everything to make it. She earns her success, and that is one of the most important principles of any character. They must earn their success. Look at whoever your favorite character is. It could be Luke Skywalker, it could be Katniss Everdeen, it could be Frodo Baggins, it could be Tony Montana, it could be literally anybody. And not just now, there's been the case throughout history. Hamlet, Othello, all these characters, they all struggled through hell to get where they wanted to go. Because people love seeing people struggle and ultimately succeed. The success of a character without the struggle is worthless. It's the struggle that defines the success. And to a degree, that's true in life as it is in the movies. And that's why Maggie Fitzgerald is one of the best movie characters of all time.
What can I say? Excite, insight with the game type. Dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop, dip, stop. What can I say?